put them out there at just about any dollar amount.
Yeah. Anything else?
I had a question on the original policy to Chris. There's some good language in there about preference to materials that, what is it? Environmentally sound or sensitive. I just want to make sure that doesn't raise the cost, or can you tell us how that's worked in other places?
Without having it in front of me, I believe what it states is all else held equal, we will prefer environmentally friendly materials. If you've got copy paper, for example, and one's $40 a ream and one's $60 a ream, but the 60 is environmentally friendly, we're not going to buy it just because it's environmentally friendly.
It's 40 and 41. The 40 and 40 you would.
If it's 40 and 40, I definitely would. Depending on how many cases. If we're doing 100,000 cases of paper, I'd still buy the cheaper one. But a lot of times with a smaller dollar amount, even if we need one case of paper and it's a $10 difference, we're not going to drive across town to save the $10 because that is cost prohibitive. But if it's an order and we look on the state contract and we've got two comparable items, we'll go with the more environmentally friendly one.
Yeah.
And then over time, we are actually able to track what percentage of our purchases are environmentally friendly products, and we do so. And Dunwoody Community Development actually heads up that part.
And what percentages?
Don't remember.
Okay.
It's higher than I thought.
Where did this language come from? Is this from an environmental group or a state group?
Most of the purchasing policy I wrote myself. The environmental portion of it came from our community development department at Dunwoody. It was inserted and amended. I like the way it read. My suspicion is there's probably some sustainability group out there that recommended this type of language that our department picked up as something that they viewed favorably.
There was language in here about in the case of a tie, a Brookhaven business would get preferences. Are there other opportunities to promote or procure, if that's the right word, from Brookhaven businesses?
Yeah, you can actually give them some sort of percentage advantage if you want. You can say we'll give a 5% advantage on price if it's a local vendor, or that's.
Bill, it sounds. Is there any danger in that?
Not at that point.
No, it's a little wild. I mean, certain areas when you're dealing with federal grants, you've got local business percentages and minority percentage businesses. But usually at the local level, when you're not talking grants fund, usually it's the local percentage that you really only look at that respect. And that's a policy decision at your point. You say, okay, can we pay 5% more if we're helping a local business, or do we really look at the overall good to the entire community? And if we save 5%, then it benefits everybody. It's a policy decision at that point.
We could prorate that based upon dollar value of the contract.
Well, 5% is 5%.
I mean, 3% if it's $100,000 or more, 5% if it's $50,000 or more.
Well, the fact that it's a percent, a $100,000 contract gives you a $5,000 advantage. $1 million contract gives you a $50,000 advantage. The percent builds in that progression. I would recommend just 1% if you did, a single percent if you did that.
All right, anything else? I mean, that's obviously what Jim was saying. I've been thinking about that for the past 3 weeks when it comes to every aspect of the city. I mean, we have such a talented base here. I mean, there's plenty of people, high-line vendors in the city. Do a lot of tech stuff, a lot of website development, a lot of businesses. It's really want to help try to focus an effort on identifying sources, letting them know what's out there. And our website will be good at doing that. We need the communication. We need to find a way to really disseminate that, hey, we're bidding, we need to bid on this, this, and this, and we're taking this, you need to know about it. Okay, so on number 2, is there a motion on the table on the floor?
There's not a motion yet.
Okay.
I thought we did first read at the last meeting.
Well, this is the one read ordinance, and we're going to go to the first read section. We're going to read. If you determine to adopt this purchasing policy, what you would do at this point in time would be ordinance, make a motion to approve ordinance 2012-1238, the one read ordinance.
With the changes that we...
And outline the changes that you want to be made as amended in the outline amendments that you've spoke of today, so we can make sure we get them captured, and then there'll be a second, and then a discussion and vote.
Anybody have a motion?
I move that we accept the purchasing ordinance, I move that we accept ordinance 2012-12-38, the approval of one read ordinance to set and adopt the purchasing policy of the city of Brookhaven, subject to providing language similar to what the city manager provided with regard to the floor, or excuse me, with regard to anything between $10,000 and $50,000 is approved by city council. I think we also added language to support local business. We want setting a preference at 5% for local business, and also
There were three,
yeah, and that the city manager, I'm sorry, I'm trying to go back to my notes. The city manager will also recap on a regular basis all contract and contract amounts to city council. I think that was it.
the slight changes to in language.
Yes, yes.
Number 12, 20.
Oh, and we're also, we're lowering the internet notification number to 10,000 for the internet bids. So to recap, we're approving it subject to a $10,000 to $50,000 approval by city council via email, 24-hour notice. We're providing a $10,000 limit on internet solicitation, a starting point. We're providing a 5% discount or promotion to local business, and we're picking up the changes that JMax had forwarded via email to the city manager for the language that she proposed.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk, please enter into the minutes that action item 2 is passed with the amendments stated. 23.
Mayor and council, this would be ordinance 2012-12-39. This is the two-read ordinance that you've just considered as a one-read ordinance. This will be the second read. If Mayor and council desire to go ahead and pass this one, you can simply do it with a motion to adopt this ordinance and outline what it is with the amendments as you previously made in ordinance 2012-12-38.
We're doing it.
Oh, sorry.
We're doing it.
I'm sorry. They missed me, pardon me.
We got it on. Is there a motion on the floor?
I so move to pass ordinance 2012-12-39 for approval of an ordinance to set and adopt the fiscal years January 1 through December 31st for the city of Brookhaven. This is the second reading.
Any discussion? Or is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of action item 3, please signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk, please enter the next action item 3 passed. Number 4.
All right, I got ahead of myself. Number 2012-12-40 is the second read of the same ordinance as you just passed as a one-read ordinance on purchasing policy. And this one, if the council desires to go ahead and pass the two-read ordinance for the same purposes, would be a motion to approve. And it's outlined that and with the same amendments as you had in 2012-12-38.
The motion? Yeah. Since you did it, so no vote.
To reread the.
That's right. You can adopt it by reference of what's
Okay.
currently done.
I move to adopt ordinance 2012-12-40, approval of an ordinance to set and adopt the purchasing policy for the city of Brookhaven. This is the second read and will be adopted as amended in the first read.
It is amended in the 2012-12-38 ordinance you just passed.
That's correct, yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor of adopting action item 4, please signify so by saying aye. All opposed? Madam Clerk, please enter the minutes that action item 4 has been passed. New business.
Mayor and council, new business, item number 1 is a resolution 2012-12-11. Resolution to set holiday schedule and operating hours for the city operations and city employees for the city.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, this resolution includes the holidays, recognized holidays from the surrounding sister cities and those federal holidays that we are all accustomed to. It also establishes the formal operating hours of City Hall, 8:30 to 5 p.m. Of course, now we know that public safety is operates on a 24-hour schedule, so this is just for the general operation hours of the city.
How many holidays are there? Do you know?
There are
It's in your,
10. Well, one's a floating holiday, so actually 9 established recognized days, and then a 10th holiday for floating.
All right. Any discussion, is there a motion on the floor?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt Resolution 2012-12-11, resolution to set holiday schedule and operating hours for city operations.
Councilman Madison, I think it's 12-12, not -11.
Is it,
Mine
should
says
it change?
I've got 12, 12, 11.
This is 11. What's the deal?
Y'all are in this thing, on the agenda today,
yeah,
it says 12 and 9.
mine says 11.
December 21st?
Yeah.
12, 11.
That's what I read.
Other than that, I've been given false agenda then. I need that, has my notes on it, mine does say 12, so
It
you'll
says
be
this one
right.
is 12 too.
You're not correct.
What day?
You're good.
December 21st. Okay.
Bill, should they pass 12 in case there is 11 somewhere else floating around?
Yeah, that's what I wanted
We'll
to
come
check.
back to 11 if we need to.
Bill, this was an 11A, this was an 11A,
Last
this is a 1 p.m.
Yeah, resolution 9.
The 12 will be 11.
The one with the 11 is the later issue.
That's what I have.
Really verify.
Mine has an earlier issue.
1 p.m.
Right. Madam Clerk, please note the record that the mayor was given a faulty agenda. Not crazy.
By roll call,
That's
please.
It's been verified by the
That's
deputy
why
mayor.
it's 11.
I like making things.
It appears 11 is the correct.
The 17th was our last meeting date, and the last resolution that was discussed was 10. So,
It would be 11.
wow.
Not
Changing
you.
Oh.
my mind.
So,
We'll amend it if we find that it's wrong, I think.
Okay, all right, let's try this again.
Start again.
well, one more time, Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt resolution 2012-12-11, a resolution to set holiday schedule and operating hours for city operations and city employees.
Second it?
Any discussion? All in favor of new business number 1, please signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk, please enter in the record that action item 1 on the new business has been passed. Action item 2, the resolution, not action item, resolution has been passed.
Mayor and council, under new business number 2, it's an action item. Consideration of the Governor's Commission recommendation on contract and task order award for community development.
Okay, is there a motion on the table?
I'd like to move that we offer contracts to the collective, to Clark Patterson Lee, and to Safe Built, with directions that the staff pursue task orders with Clark Patterson Lee to negotiate a task order in the best interest of the city.
Is there a second?
Matt, Councilwoman Creighton, it's the collaborative, not the collective.
I'm sorry, the collaborative.
So, did everybody hear the motion? Everybody, council hear what the motion is? Yes. Awarding 3 contracts with the task force going to Clark Patterson Lee. All right, is there a second? Is there a second? If there's no second, Motion fails.
Well, we're not in discussion.
Like that, second.
Got a second?
And the second one we can discuss.
You can second and then vote no.
I'll second this for the purposes of discussion.
Is there any discussion?
I'd just like further explanation of why we're including all three entities in a award of bid within task order. I just need clarification of what.
Well, I believe our process, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we order overall contracts to several firms. The thinking being that, that
We cherry pick the best one.
we don't have to go back and rebid the whole thing should we decide later that we want one of the other firms to perform a task or take on one of the duties. The task order is actually the order to do the work. So my thinking here is that the collaborative was the recommended bid of the Governor's Commission, and it's been recommended to me that Safe Build would potentially be a good provider of building permits at some point in the future, possibly. But the main order is to Clark Patterson to carry out our community development contracts.
Yeah, my concern is just, it seems to be, one, possibly misleading to the other entities that are awarded contracts, and two, are we duplicating services if we award contracts but
No.
don't?
If I'm right.
We're signing a contract, but we're not awarding a task order. A task order is their work order. So the others are on standby if we're needed. We negotiate a contract with them and they're available if we need services that we feel they're either better or more adept at offering. And they're also a backup in case the primary vendor trips up on something. And, then we have a ready backup without having to go back out to the RFP process, drag it on for several months, yada, yada, yada. So this basically gives us a ready backup to replace any and all of the primary contractor or primary vendors' services.
This is what we've done, for instance, in the finance and administration bid, where we awarded contracts to all three bidders with the task order voted on UHY.
The only issue I might have in awarding the two backups in this is if the other two vendors, like happened with Cedar and Trent, possibly it might cause trouble with their subs to have been awarded a contract, and then they might be bound by their subs to say, oh, you were awarded a contract, even though you didn't get the task order. So I don't know, council, is there an issue, do we know of an issue?
We don't, but if they brought up an issue, we can certainly bring it back to you.
Right.
Well, thanks for the clarification. I agree that the intent is to have Clark Patterson lead in the task order, and I'm definitely on board with that.
And Councilman Madison, this is not a new concept. This has happened in other jurisdictions. So the vendors who have bid on this, they understand conceptually that they may be sitting on the sideline, but they may have an opportunity to have more work down the road without having to go through another bid process, which is of course expensive for them too.
Okay.
Any more questions?
The other part of this is, please correct me if I'm mistaken, by doing this, we also give permission to the city manager to negotiate on our behalf
Right.
Yeah.
from the group.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
because there's opportunities.
Right. I think that's-
Yeah, that was part of that's part of the motion.
Okay. Any more discussion, questions? Well, before I have a question. Am I allowed to poll my council before we take a vote?
So,
Can we have a recess?
we'll go executive session.
I mean, can we not, we can't, can I?
So, then let me
I
ask you
gotta
a
go to the
question.
bathroom.
We can recess for that, Mayor.
I'll wait for you.
Do we all have to go?
Not fair, not
Paul, a point of
I was gonna say,
clarification.
wait just a minute.
If we bring this to a vote and it's rejected, do we have an opportunity to vote again?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you can continue to make motions.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion?
Can I ask our interim city manager a question in our discussion? If you would just share with me your thoughts on adding safe build, because you have experience with
Right.
safe build.
First and foremost, we're going to pursue with every effort the contract that you award to the task force. That's where we want to go, first and foremost. But where we could find other experience that could be an asset to the primary contractor, we would like to have that ability to explore. And Safe Build has an excellent reputation and does very well in inspections on the ground. They've done it, they're doing it in some of the sister cities.
22 cities.
Right, and they do have a good reputation in doing that. And I just would not want the city to miss an opportunity should that make sense.
Thanks, that's helpful.
And do you have any other thoughts about the collaborative?
Well, the collaborative might be a group that might make more sense for a special review or a plan. That could be doing it parallel to the operations of your primary community development contractor. That's not going to have a lot of time to be able to do some of these special analyses and plans or master plans. And I could see in some instances that your primary contractor would work side by side with another vendor that could bring that special project on board at the direction of your seated community development department.
Let me ask you one other question. It's been our practice to, I think, ask for no more than 3 contracts. Is that a limit, or, I mean, for instance, could we potentially give contracts to everybody
You
with
could.
a task order to
Absolutely.
Clark Patterson?
Absolutely.
Would you rather do that?
I would prefer to at least include Jacobs. I think with
Yeah.
collaborative, we've got high-level planning. Jacobs is sort of a mid-level, and I think, you know, we're missing that component that's going to look at a piece of property, for instance, versus an entire chunk of the city
That's
kind of
also
stuff.
great for me.
I think you make a good point, because all of the firms have their own niche of expertise.
Yeah.
And what we're looking for, what you all are looking for, is how do you blend the best to provide to your citizens?
Right.
And Mr. Madison said it just a moment ago, cherry picking, and I think that's probably the best example.
There's no rule on 3.
No.
Okay, well then I really want to amend one.
You can withdraw the
I'm
motion.
just going to say, just for public consumption, we saw some fantastic presentations from all of these vendors last night. You would just have your socks knocked off if you could see the capabilities of every one of these. I think we're just blessed to have this quality of vendors in front of us. I feel like, you know, they're all certainly very qualified, and I think it's just a matter of what best fits with our needs and what is the best value for our city of Brookings. So should I withdraw my resolution,
Well, it hasn't been, it
Hasn't
hasn't
been seconded, but
I had
hasn't.
it
been
seconded.
seconded. Anyone who would want to amend to add
Could do that to the original
the
motion.
further members on, or the further vendors on there, they could certainly do that.
Is there an amendment to the motion on the floor?
I would like to amend. I would like to amend that we add as a backup on the contract low.
For a second?
I'm sorry,
Low.
Jacobs.
Put it in the wrong list there. Jacobs. Okay.
well, okay, I'll second that.
I'm also, I do not want us to leave off, I'd like to amend this also to add ponds.
Okay.
Ponds.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor. Do you want to restate the motion?
Okay.
Does she need to restate it?
Where we are now, Mayor. Procedure.
We're all there?
We're procedurally, we vote on pond to amend the main motion. Then we go and vote on Jacobs to amend the made
Well,
motion.
Jacobs and Pond. This is the
No.
first.
No,
You go through
Last
Zach's first.
Okay.
So you go this one, and then you go back to the main motion, which would then be amended to add Jacobs and Pond on it, and that would be the end of it.
So is there a vote on the amendment by Councilman Madison? Is there any more discussion on the amendment by Councilman Madison? All in favor of the amendment as proposed by Councilman Madison, please signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Opposed?
Okay. All right, so
You
you
break the tie, you're the tiebreaker.
have Pond on there?
My first big time.
Time to go to the bathroom.
I'm gonna oppose that. I'm not in favor of that. Sorry.
Not personal.
Not personally. Okay, and is there a vote? Is there,
And you'd state your second amendment, Mayor, that it would be the amendment to include Jacobs onto the, as one of the contractors for community development.
is there a, all in favor of adding Jacobs as an amendment to the being awarded a contract to action item 2? Signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk, is in the minutes that the task that
The amendment,
the amendment is to the motion by Councilwoman Williams is passed, adding Jacobs to the, as a contract awardee for action item 2. Now we need to vote on the whole.
Now you may vote on the main motion. The main motion now would include that Jacobs gets a contract, the collaborative gets a contract.
no, not Jacobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, as
Jake.
amended, my apologies.
Yeah.
Collaborative, Safeville, Clark Patterson, and by amendment Jacobs get contracts, and that Clark Patterson gets a task order. Is that the form of the motion, Mayor?
Councilman Williams.
Yes, to be negotiated in the best interest.
All in favor as motion as stated by, and agreed to by Councilwoman Williams, please signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk, please enter the copy of the minutes that the motion is passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other business?
Mr. Mayor, I actually have something in. I apologize, I'm about to spring something on you so that I haven't brought before. But I got a phone call on my way over here. Interdev has called and asked a procurement question, and I told them let me wait until there's a policy to discuss first. There's certain equipment that we need to get up and running for the new vendors coming on board. There's lead time with the manufacturers to get that. Interdev at their own, and they understand the risk, that they went ahead and procured some equipment at a cost less than the state contract amount to start the lead time. It's in, they have not broke the seal yet. Before they break the seal, they're looking for some sort of indication that we would be able to proceed with them. Now procedurally, the method to do that would be within the purchasing policy that was just adopted, would be what's called a single source, which means there are other competitive options, but for some circumstance, we're choosing to not do a formal competitive bid for purposes of convenience to the council and the city. Or you can say, no, we need to go through the state contract, even if it's at a higher price, because that was done in a competitive bid market. Both have merits, both are allowed, but before they actually break the seals on those products and start setting up stations for the new staff coming on, they did ask if you would, not vote to approve it tonight, but just give some sort of indication that this is something that you are open to and would be willing to vote on come next Friday's meeting.
How much and when do they need to be up and running?
We can get you the exact figures. I believe we're not talking about a lot, maybe like a dozen workstations, if I remember correctly, and monitors, et cetera, that kind of go with that. Of course, the bigger picture, we're probably looking at closer to 50 or so workstations.